Hello, my name is Ben Price, and today I'm here to tell you about hunger in Pierce County and my senior project product. A little bit about myself before we begin. At a very young age, my family always had a garden in our backyard. We would work together on it, we'd grow it together, and I gained a lot of experience with the help of my family along the way. When I got older, I started volunteering at the Our Savior Garden, or the Abundance Garden in other words, where there I got to work alongside people like Margie Hines and gained a lot of experience in that as well. When it came to my freshman year in high school, in my physical science class, that was the first time I ever knew that my knowledge of plants could ever be used to my advantage. In my physical science class, I was able to take plants, analyze their growth patterns, and ended up pulling an A out of the class. Then, I decided that I could use my plants for money. And I made price-worthy plants, where, as you can see, I just kind of got plants and I put them in jars and I just sold them. It was a great little business. I learned a lot in it. And my apple trees that I grew from seed, which I found out are actually very hard to do, so that gave me a lot of confidence. And then my books. Over the years, I ended up gaining a thick stack of books that I could use for all my knowledge and resources whenever I had questions. Now, while I was working at the Abundance Garden, I never really knew who I was really serving. So I delved in a little deeper. And in 2015, there was research done that said there were 356,000 households with food insecurity. In Pierce County alone, that's 120,000 people, and 42,000 of those are, sadly, children. I got my information by sending emails to Fish Food Bank and Northwest Harvest, and some of them were, for instance, like at Trinity Lutheran, hands-on experiences talking to people who worked at the church, and they were a great help. So eventually I started wondering, well, I have a senior project, how can I help these people? Hey, there's an idea! Alright, yes, my goal was to grow a large amount of food and send it to the food bank and learn as much as I could along the way. So I started gaining resources. At the school I got 6 very large garden beds that I was able to grow food in, and the church supplied me with 2 small bins that I could grow with, and at home my parents provided me with a large plot that I could use for potatoes. Now, for help I had Mr. Scarce and Garden Club. Population, me. What we were growing was incredibly important. I would like to emphasize on the carrots, beets, and potatoes. Those are incredibly important because they are all root plants, which food banks really want because they have the longest shelf life. So we mostly focus on those. I also had zucchini and summer squash because those were very large, the plants produced a lot of them, they were easy to give away. They were great foods to grow. And of course, I had my first series of problems. You see, I planted a bunch of zucchini starts, and all of a sudden, they just kind of disappeared in the middle of the night. And they looked a little eaten on, and just like that picture. So, I did some research. Mr. Scarce and I agreed it must have been some kind of grub or a slug, and we were thinking, well, since this is our organic garden, how do we get rid of these guys? And that's when I found out something amazing. Beneficial nematodes. These wonderful little microscopic worms will go into the soil and they'll eat any soft-bodied creature in it. They are very good at getting rid of any pestilence. I know because everything went away immediately after I, kind of got them in my pail and I spread them around, and I put in some organic iron-based slug bait to get rid of any potential slug damage. And it was good afterwards. I replanted, things were going good. But that's when I had another problem, the work. Now, the work was incredibly hard. It was labor intensive. I was moving my body, crouching in all different positions. I had a lot of weeding to do. It was incredibly time consuming. It was really just a pain. Now, see these carrots? Long story. I planted some carrots at first. they didn't really grow. So I planted some more carrots, and then I watered them a ton. And next thing you know, all the carrots I had planted from the get-go grew. So basically what I did was I tried pulling up those carrots, and I tried replanting them one by one. It took me about 6 hours, and I was exhausted afterwards. And that's when I made my first mistake, because I realized that I really should have just left them there, and it would have been more beneficial for me to do so. And then there was my second problem, mildew. Oh, mildew. Now, you see, I tried using things like this, copper fungicide. This wonderful little product it does miracles. It gets rid of powdery mildew, downy mildew, early blight, black spot. It's really good. Problem, it's toxic. After talking to Mr. Scarce, it was an organic garden. These people are poor. They didn't have a way to actually clean their food, so as much as I wanted to, there was no way I could use this. And there was no real way to organically get rid of mildew either, which was incredibly hard to deal with. I'm not even sure what that bottom right picture is, to be honest. So in the end, what I got was 27 beets, 68 small potatoes, 9 squash, 8 zucchini, and overall about 75 pounds, which is a good deal of food. That's a very good deal of food. What I realized that didn't grow well were my beans and my carrots. The beans, it must have just not been a good year because none of them would grow and they died immediately. And then the carrots, I planted them way too late in the season. Mistake on my part once again. But in the end, I did learn some important lessons. One, to feed a lot of people, you need a garden. Well, no, you need a farm. You need a big farm, not a garden. Also, you need help. Trying to do this alone was one of the worst decisions I had ever made in my life. And then also, you need information on plants, diseases, and seasons. For instance, dealing with that mildew, knowing how to identify a problem, that's what you need whenever you're dealing with crops. In the end, I provided food for someone who didn't have any, and that, in my opinion, was well worth my time. Thank you.